at the very end of the village of Pett, and that has got to be one of the most unusual bus turning points in East Sussex. The old East Kent Service 127 used to come out here. I always remember the destination, Pett, Chick Hill. And this is the terminus because, as far as motor vehicles were concerned in the 50s, Chick Hill was almost a no-go area. The number of cars we used to see when we were down the bottom who tried to get up the hill but couldn't. And I'm about to go down it. But anyway, this is the Chick Hill terminus. I don't know, there's not that many bus journeys a day left now. It used to be an hourly service, but let's have a look at the timetable. As you can see, it's basically a 2-hourly service with a couple of buses on Saturdays. Not a patch on what it used to be. Anyway, the trouble is, with the sun being where it is, I don't know if you can see the top of that there. I think that's Chick Hill House. And if it is, it's a 18th century listed building. But you see, I can't stop anywhere going down the hill. This is a minimum of 1 in 4. Something coming up, of course there has to be. But what I want to show you down through there, just to show how high up we are at the moment, because we're literally at the top of the old sea cliffs. You can't differentiate very much, but that is actually the sea. And now I'm going to work my way down the hill. There's where I've just come from, up the top there. And we're down in Cliff End now, which is sort of the beginning of Pett Level. Now, I've been through here many times over the years, but not really to stop and have a look. And this is not, as I remember it, was, well, these modern properties weren't there for a start when I was a kid. And all this growth here was not there. You could look up there and see right up, halfway up the hill. I seem to remember some kind of little cafe or something on the corner here, Sunnyside or whatever it was called. But I also have memories, there was a little shop here, and it sold souvenirs and groceries and all sorts of stuff. Now, I thought it was, that must have been the restaurant. It must have been a bit further along here, because I seem to remember this white picket fencing. And I'm sure we had to go across a little bridge to get to it. And then there was another little shop along here. Hazy memories, to be honest. Which is unusual, because a lot of my memories are quite crystal clear. But I mean, I remember this little stream here. That's for definite. Old lifeboat stores. Because this is where we used to come in the summer to go to the seaside on the old East Kent Service 128 to Pett Level, simply to get away from the tourists in town. the town of Hastings, that is. Well, this is just behind the seawall in Pett Level, and this is the beginning, or the end, whichever way you look at it, of the Royal Military Canal, which stretches right the way up into Hythe in Kent. That's right, and I'm just looking for, we've got these lovely water lilies here growing wild. Yeah, how lovely is that? Though I've got an assortment of coots telling me that I'm not welcome, but that's just tough. Appears to be quite a bit of aquatic life in there, more than enough to suit the birds. This is built as part of the sea defences, of course, against the sea defences, it's Canal. But it was built to transport, ideally, stuff for the military, ready for the supposed Napoleonic invasion that never came. And this is now just a quiet little backwater. There was another pedestrian bridge, I think it probably was here, but it's a much more elaborate affair. This is a fairly modern wooden bridge, now part of a properly signposted footpath. And that is a building that was known as the Beach Club. Now, as far as I can tell, it was probably built between the wars, closer to the beginning of the Second World War. And the bus used to come along here and it used to reverse over into that sort of car parking space over there, or call it what you like. And there used to be big queues built up because a lot of people used to use the service. Then for some years there was hardly any buses at all out here, and now there's a regular Hastings to Rye service with big double-decker buses, rather inappropriate for the road, but there you go. And operating hourly between Hastings and Rye, so how times change. And this building, which used to be quite popular, that's gone. People just don't come out here anymore, except early morning dog walkers, of course. But you don't get the great volumes of people heading out here from Hastings, because Hastings isn't really that good a place. But yes, this was wider than this, of course. It's all roped off now, but I seem to remember those railings were probably here in some shape or form, but not these here. Anyhow, this is St Nicholas's Church. It's still in use today. Built, I think, back in 1878 for the Admiralty, and it was known then as the Rocket House, because that's where it used to keep the rocket equipment for the Coast Guards. The Church of England bought it towards the beginning of the last century, and I think in the 1950s, with the help of the Canadian forces, they built this porchway, and about 7 years ago it was restored and renovated to bring it up to the standard it is now. Pett Level Rescue. Coastal erosion. It's an ongoing problem all the way along. And before and after the last war, this huge sea wall, stretches for miles all the way along there. Although the sun's in the way, I'm sorry about that. You can walk for miles, you walk all the way up to Rye, and there you see the land of Rye, Goldiford Marsh, and out towards Dungeness, not very clearly because of the sun, but yeah. And there's where the cliffs that begin at Hastings finish. Now, just to give you an idea of how the shoreline was, if I point that inland, and we'll walk up on here to do this, you'll see that the land immediately behind this wall is more or less at the same level, maybe just slightly above sea level. But there were the inland cliffs, and that was where the shoreline was. All them years ago, where I was standing on that bridge would have been the beach. And now we're holding the sea right the way back. Tons and tons and tons of shingle. And as we walk along here, you see the old Coast Guard cottages with their dormer windows and nice seafront properties now. This bit has certainly changed since I was here. We used to have cross groins, as I remember, but all this shingle has been put here over many years, since the 1950s I would say. It's been really built up. My dad always used to tell me that the cross groins, as we would probably now know them as groins, were tank traps to stop the Germans using landing craft and landing tanks in the Second World War. There may be some further up still. I've got another stop to do, so we'll try and see now. I'm not so sure I'm going to be able to see this, but in the distance I can see Dungeness Power Station. I know where it is. Just trying to find it. Is that it? Yep, there it is. Dungeness Power Station. And the sound of the sea, nice and restful. Lovely place when there's not many people about. I can remember those old sheds being there. Yeah, we used to come out here quite a lot. Me and Jackie, when we were kids in our family, I'm pretty sure we were here a few times together. And look, there's the Coast Guard cottages. And let's go and see what I can find a bit further up the road. We're heading further north now, towards Winchelsea Beach, and you can see clearly where the old sea cliffs used to be. Heading up over that way. Heading up in the distance towards what is new Winchelsea, and there are 4 large lakes here. They're man-made lakes, They are now a nature reserve, and there's all sorts of things on there. Various types of duck. I'm trying to find a couple now that I can zoom in on and identify later. Ah, there they are. Because they're too far away for me to recognise here, and I'm sure they're not. I'm sure they are not mallards. They might even be shelduck. Anyway, I hope I'll be able to identify them later on. Lots of black-headed gulls here. Rather nice. Way over there, there used to be, and it isn't there anymore unfortunately, a sort of a shed in the middle of a field, which I later found out was the grounded body of a Dover tram car. Now, here are some of these, I don't know whether you call them cross groins, but you see they are just now rotting. So they're not being maintained at all, and most of them have disappeared now. They used to be all along here, and like I say, Dad used to tell us that they were tank traps. They were designed to stop the German military machines if ever they got this far. Looking out back towards Hastings there in the distance. Some days in the spring, on a very low tide, you can actually see the stumps of an ancient forest out there on the seabed. And somewhere just out here, there is the wreck. Was it 1690? There was a warship deliberately wrecked during the Battle of Beachy Head to avoid being captured by the Spanish. I think it was the Spanish. My brain. Well, it is still only 6:45 in the morning. And there we have a view over one of these lakes. This is probably the first one, looking towards the others. Lots of vans and campers around, which is fine as long as people take their rubbish home with them and don't leave their toilet litter all over the place, which can be very unpleasant for others. The cormorant up there just heading out for sea, gone for a day's fishing.